Venezuela's Great Patriotic Pole secured a parliamentary majority of 71% of National Assembly seats in Sunday's elections. Palestinian authorities have announced they can no longer carry out novel coronavirus tests in the Gaza Strip due to a lack of test kits thanks to the Israeli blockade. Polls for Ghana's general elections, in which over 17 million people were called to vote, have closed. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. The president of Venezuela's National Electoral Council, Indira Alfonso, offered the second official bulletin of the results of the parliamentary elections held on December 6.
At this time, we must inform that we have processed 98.63% of the vote tally sheets and a turnout of 30.50% of registered voters, totaling 6,251,080 valid votes cast in this election, distributed in the following way.
Jorge Rodriguez, campaign manager of Venezuela's Great Patriotic Pole Electoral Alliance, offered a press conference this Monday addressing the parliamentary elections held on Sunday and welcoming the victory of leftist political forces.
This gigantic victory, is it a message for conceit? Is it a message for stunning? Or the drunkenness of power that these ultra-right-wing sectors demonstrated after their victory in the year 2015? No, on the contrary, it is a very powerful message from the people of Venezuela so that the National Assembly may recover its legislative and controlling condition, the fundamental power of the republic established in this constitution, which was destroyed by these cruel men, which was destroyed by these evil people, which was destroyed by these stateless people. The immense majority, 72% of voters, and that is the only figure that matters in the results of an election. All else is a smokescreen, all else are birds in the air. The most important and strongest message that 72% of voters send to the world and to the people of Venezuela is that the National Assembly must be recovered and rescued. Secondly, the message to the world, and above all to governments that are aggressive against the people of Venezuela, is that the sanctions must end.
An atmosphere of peace and tranquility reigns across Venezuela following the parliamentary elections, which were held on Sunday. Supporters of the parties and candidates making up the Great Patriotic Pole Electoral Alliance, which secured a majority in the new National Assembly with 71% of the seats, celebrated the win into the early hours of Monday morning in the capital, Caracas. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro described the victory as resounding. The newly elected lawmakers pledged to work to attend to the needs of the people and also pointed out that the far right was excluded from the new parliament through the vote. On Monday afternoon, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza held a special conference in the Samuel Robinson Institute in Caracas under the slogan, "A Dialogue Between Civilizations." The former presidents of Ecuador, Rafael Correa, and Bolivia, Evo Morales, also addressed the special conference. Among those participating were international observers to Sunday's parliamentary elections, activists and social leaders, including Andronico Rodriguez, president of the Bolivian Senate. As a moderator of the debate, the Venezuelan foreign minister said that dialogue between nations is paramount for achieving progress and solving major issues. For his part, Rafael Correa congratulated the Venezuelan people for the peaceful and successful holding of the parliamentary elections on Sunday and condemned the neo-colonial position of several former powers regarding Latin American nations. The Nicaraguan government sent a letter of congratulations following Venezuela's parliamentary elections. The letter addressed to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and signed by Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega and Vice President Rosario Murillo welcomed the victory of the Great Patriotic Pole Alliance in Sunday's vote and noted that with the courageous and triumphant spirit of eternal commanders Bolivar, Martí, Sandino, Fidel and Chavez, we know we are moving forward. And the Cuban government also congratulated the Venezuelan government for the parliamentary elections held this Sunday. In a letter addressed to the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on behalf of the Cuban people, the Communist Party of Cuba and the Cuban government, congratulations were expressed to the Great Patriotic Pole, the United Socialist Party of Venezuela and the Bolivarian people for the victory in the parliamentary elections. The message noted that once again the homeland of Bolívar and Chávez has strengthened its democratic and participative spirit in the face of imperialist attacks. The letter was signed by Raúl Castro, First Secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Cuba, and Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel. Former President of Ecuador, Rafael Correa, who participated as an international election observer in the elections held on Sunday, praised the country for the smooth running of the vote in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic.
I think there are many examples to follow, such as the mechanism of voting that allows it to be done quickly, minimizing the risk of spreading the disease.
In Brazil, residents of the state of Bahia held a demonstration to demand justice and an end to police violence after the murder of a young man during a military police operation. The residents of São Felix in the south of Bahia carried out roadblocks and set ablaze some establishments in reaction to the police violence, which led to the death of David Pereira, a 22-year-old man, and of which much of the community has been victim. Social movements have expressed their rejection of the repressive actions of the police, together with the silent complicity of the government of far-right President Jair Bolsonaro, and are calling for an immediate end to the abuses by law enforcement. In Colombia, data provided by the Institute for Development and Peace Studies has confirmed the assassination of more than 300 social leaders in the country so far this year. Several studies carried out by the institution revealed that a total of 340 social leaders have lost their lives in at least 79 massacres during 2020. The latest report indicates that the regions most affected by the violence are the departments of Cauca and Antioquia. The document includes the two massacres perpetrated this weekend in both regions. Social organizations and human rights defenders continue to call on the Colombian government to address the escalation of violence by illegal armed groups against rural and indigenous communities. Hamas said Monday it could no longer carry out novel coronavirus tests in the Gaza Strip due to a lack of kits amid a spike in cases in the occupied Palestinian territory. The health ministry called for urgent action to provide the necessary equipment to screen the population for the virus. The only lab in the territory able to analyse COVID-19 test samples has been forced to cease its work due to a lack of equipment, the ministry said in a statement. A 2-week-long weekend and evening curfew was enforced across the Israeli-occupied West Bank in late November to fight a worrying spread of the virus. The curfew has been extended until December 17th. In total, the Palestinian Health Ministry has recorded more than 74,000 COVID-19 cases, including nearly 700 deaths in the West Bank. In Gaza, over 25,000 infections have been reported, including around 150 deaths. And Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh announced a 1-week closure of some government offices and a suspension of all commercial and services activities across the West Bank as Palestinian territories record a surge in COVID-19 cases.
The governorates of Nablus, Hebron, Bethlehem and Tulkarem will be completely closed from the evening of Thursday 10th December 2020, starting from 7 in the afternoon and for a period of 7 days. Movement between all governorates is prohibited for a period of 7 days from the evening of Thursday 10th December until the evening of Tuesday 17th of December, with the exemption of the transport of agricultural and services goods, as well as food. The nighttime curfew continues in all governorates for a period of 10 days, starting from tonight until Thursday 17th of December.
Russia's Sputnik V vaccine is being transported across the country's regions after the start of a mass vaccination effort in Moscow this weekend. On Monday, military personnel in Russia's Far East region of Zabalkalsky Krai were given the vaccine. Meanwhile, 1,000 doses of the vaccine were transported to a warehouse in the Chelyabinsk region, from which they will be distributed to be administered to medical workers and teachers. The vaccine requires storage in refrigerated areas of -18 degrees Celsius and will be transported in refrigerated minivans. Another 2,000 doses of the vaccine are expected in the Chelyabinsk region by the end of the year and will be given to doctors, teachers, police officers and social workers. While other countries gear up for rapid rollouts of COVID-19 vaccines, Switzerland is staking out a slower path, opting for caution over speed, according to a leading vaccine expert. Britain and Russia both began mass vaccination this week, while US and European regulators are expected to provide emergency approval for 2 vaccines very shortly, with millions of doses set to be administered by the end of the year. But in Switzerland, authorities are in no hurry to approve a vaccine. The first few doses are not expected to arrive before late January, and larger volumes several months after that. Switzerland, a country of some 8.6 million people, has recorded 5,000 COVID-19 related deaths and seems to be gradually getting a second wave of infections under control.
For me today, discussion is justified because in Switzerland we're not in the catastrophic situation of the United States. We have the same virus everywhere, but we have managed to limit it with really heavy measures, with measures that are restrictive for individual life, restrictive for the economy, but we are not totally overwhelmed to the point of other countries at the present time.
Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon on Monday visited an Edinburgh hospital ahead of the largest immunisation programme in British history. In Scotland, the first COVID-19 vaccinations are due to be administered on Tuesday.
Really significant moment, and I think after a pretty rough and miserable year for everybody, it's an optimistic moment. I've just been in visiting at the clinic where vaccinations will happen this week, speaking to those who will be carrying out the vaccinations but also being vaccinated. So it really is one of these moments where for the first time in a long time we can see some real light at the end of the tunnel. It's a massive logistical exercise, lots of people working really hard, but a moment to be optimistic.
In Germany, a testing centre in the western city of Wiesbaden is preparing for mass vaccinations once the shots are made available by the federal government. Chancellor Angela Merkel's Chief of Staff said she expects coronavirus vaccinations to start in Germany in the very first days of the new year. Infection figures have stabilised since a partial lockdown started on November 2nd, but have not fallen. On Monday, the National Disease Control Centre reported more than 12,000 new cases detected over the past 24 hours. For those citizens invited for treatment in Wiesbaden, the route through the vaccination centre will initially involve a temperature scan.
What will be a logistically difficult task for us will be to use different vaccinations in the center, because everybody has to be vaccinated twice to get the full protection, and that will be a complication if you needed to use 3 vaccines in one center.
On Monday, rescue operations continued in flood-hit areas of central Italy as heavy rain caused havoc, sparking landslides and avalanche alerts. For the past 48 hours, firefighters have been conducting rescue operations in several regions of the country, including Veneto, Piedmont, Lombardy and Tuscany. Overnight on Sunday and Monday, 160 firefighters conducted 175 rescue operations with amphibious vehicles to assist the population of several areas of the Emilia-Romagna region, which was hit by the flooding of the Panaro River. The bad weather is expected to continue through Wednesday. On Monday, China condemned the Trump administration for ending 5 cultural exchange programs, worsening the already troubled relations between the two countries.
China strongly opposes and condemns the vicious attack by U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to China's political system and the further restrictions on cultural exchange between China and the U.S. Some anti-China forces in the U.S. cling on to the Cold War mentality in an attempt to provoke ideological confrontation and undermine China-U.S. relations. Such a practice purely violates the fundamental interests of two peoples and goes against the trend of the times, which will surely end up with nothing. China will take necessary measures to safeguard its sovereignty, safety and development interests.
Polls for Ghana's general elections have closed this Monday. Ghanaians turned out to elect their next president, as well as members of parliament for all 275 constituencies of the country. From the capital Accra to the northern city of Tamale, voters lined up at polling stations at the crack of dawn to pick a president from among 12 candidates. The current president, Nana Akufo-Addo, is expected to win, with a November poll by the University of Ghana placing him ahead with 51.7% of support, while Ghanaian pollster Ben Efson estimated that the incumbent president would secure more than 52% of the vote. Election observers have not pointed out any major incidents across the 38,000 polling stations. Key issues in this year's vote include unemployment, infrastructure, education and health.
We are a very mature, civilized people, the Ghanaian people. And as we have proved in the past, we have deep attachment to democratic values and culture. I'm not at all surprised that the process is going very smoothly and peacefully across the country. And my expectation is that it will be so till the very end and afterwards when the results are declared.
There should be no incidents. The way you saw the atmosphere here, I hope that it's going to be the case all over the country.
More than 17 million people were registered to vote this Monday at the more than 38,000 polling stations across Ghana. Each polling station was divided up into different areas to ensure that the lines to vote were shorter amid the coronavirus pandemic. In order to avoid a second round, a candidate must secure more than 50% of the vote. The president of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic and secretary of the Polisario Front, Brahim Ghali, has called on the African Union to apply sanctions to Morocco for its occupation of Western Sahara and to stop its expansionist practices. Ghali made the demands during the 14th extraordinary session of the African Union Assembly of Heads of State and Government, adding that the AU Peace and Security Council must adopt a decisive stance in the face of the attacks against the Sahrawi people. The Assembly concluded on Monday with the unanimous approval of a draft resolution on the latest events in the Sahara after Morocco moved to extend its occupation. The resolution puts the Western Sahara conflict back on the agenda of the AU Peace and Security Council. In India, rural workers continue to protest at the Delhi border against agricultural reforms that they fear will destroy their livelihoods. Tens of thousands of rural workers are blocking a major highway into India's capital. Layers of hay, mattresses and blankets are used as bedding inside the tractors and trucks and on the road, while 6 months' worth of food is piled up in trailers, signs that the agricultural workers are resolute about maintaining the blockade until Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government reverses course on the 3 new agricultural laws they say will expose them to further exploitation by big business. At least 33 people were injured in southern Afghanistan after a suicide attack on government buildings. Local authorities reported the attack took place near the police headquarters in Daman and the district governor's office in Kandahar province. According to the district police report, out of the 33 injured, 22 were civilians. The attack was carried out by a suicide bomber who drove a truck loaded with explosives against several government buildings. So far, no group has claimed responsibility for the attack. The Afghan Ministry of Interior has noted that 134 civilians were killed and 342 injured in 184 Taliban-related suicide attacks in November alone. And we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss and thank you for watching.